morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in this vast world we live in. I'm your host, Rodney McGillvary, and this is Ancient Mysteries Revisited on WELT 95.7 FM in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Coming to you every Mondays and Wednesdays at 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on WELT 95.7. Also streamed at www.acpl.info/WELT. You can look us up on YouTube. Just type in Ancient Mysteries Revisited, and on Facebook at www.facebook.com/Ancient Mysteries Revisited. Today we have an interesting guest, Steve Meads from the UK, who is a longtime paranormal and UFO researcher. He also has experience researching in France, Hong Kong, and the Philippines, and he's a self-published author of Chauvet, The Dream Unlocked, which is a book about the Chauvet cave in France, which have paintings that date approximately 30,000 years ago. And these paintings were buried and sealed for 20,000 years by a landslide. So I'm interested to see what he's uncovered. So let's bring him on.
Hello.
Hey, good evening, Steve. How you doing?
Yeah, not too bad, Ronnie. Thank you very much for having me.
Hey, anytime. I'm glad you could join me on this show. It's going to be interesting to say the least. These paintings that you've covered in France, it's really fascinating stuff.
Thank you very much.
Well, Steve, if you want to get us start by give our audience a little run through of who you are. What's your background? How did you get started doing this kind of research?
Right, well, I started off from a very young age with it all, really, mostly from pure life chances. Got into UFOs and paranormal from a very young age. Been around a bit, done some various jobs, computers, building, mechanics. Lived in several countries, and in one of them, France, when I lived in France, I saw some UFOs over there. So it's been a long time thing, all of this. It's been going on for quite a while, and it was just by pure luck that I came across the Chauvet cave art on December the 21st, 2012, which was an interesting date.
Yeah, definitely. How did you come across them in 2012? Did you just go down to France for a visit and do some exploring, or?
Well, no. What it was because the December 21st, 2012 is the end of the Mayan calendar, and everybody was wondering what was going to happen next. Doomsday and end of the world scenarios and all this sort of stuff.
Oh, I know. Vast population of the world was freaking out big time.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy time, that was. It was quite lively. Mm-hmm. So I thought to myself, what can I do for this particular day? I thought I'm just going to sit down and watch a video. I didn't really have any idea what I wanted to watch. And I thought I'd, see how the world turned out as the clock struck midnight. So, doing random searches, I came across this video called Chauvet, The Cave of Forgotten Dreams.
Okay.
Yeah, and I sat down. I thought, great, this looks interesting. And I stuck it on. It ran for quite a while, and I was sitting there and I was looking at some of these images in the cave art, and I've one coincidence after another. I was seeing objects and designs and styles that I thought I recognised from somewhere else. And what did they
resemble to you?
Go on, sorry.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. But what did they resemble to you? Where did you see them or these images before?
They reminded me of ancient Egypt hieroglyphs.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yeah. And I put it down to coincidence. I thought, no, this can't be what I'm seeing. This stuff is 30 to 35,000 years old. This doesn't tie in with anything historical that we know of at all.
Right. Yeah,
And I
that
kept on watching
30,000
the
years is
Go on.
that 30,000 years is a drastic difference in time.
Oh yeah, it's a big leap. And I was confused with it. And this feeling, this thought, this observation just drew me into this video even more and more and more. I ended up sitting there, pausing it, rewinding it, playing it, pausing it, rewinding, playing it, going over and over every single little bit. Because I saw at least 4 or 5 coincidences before I decided to actually stop and have a good detailed look at it.
Okay.
And one of the images in particular that made me do this was of a hippo. I knew I'd seen it before. I was definite, and I thought to myself, this hippo does not fit in with any of the other sections of this cave art. And this particular hippo, you could see him, he's got his mouth open with his tongue out, and you can see some of his teeth. And I thought, well, this is all relates to ancient Egypt. So I did a search for ancient Egypt hippo. And what do I find? The exact same image plastered all over ancient Egypt, in art, in the hieroglyphs, in the papyrus scrolls, in statues. It was everywhere.
Oh, wow.
It turns out that the hippo is quite a what do they call it, a revered creature. It's almost godlike. Mm-hmm. It was the animal that killed the very first pharaoh of Egypt.
Oh yeah, so that's very symbolic to them.
Yeah, very symbolic. And it just tied in with all the other stuff, and wow, it's been quite a wild ride ever since, especially because of all the links and connections that it seems to be pushing forwards. There's this chain of events that appears to be being played out through the cave art itself. You start off with seeing the Eye of Ra, and as you go deeper into the other sections, you see the coast of North Africa. You get to see bits of the outlines of the coast of France, Brittany region, Spain, and the Mediterranean seems to be mixed in there somewhere. Whoever has done this has done it with great skill and great knowledge, and it opens up a whole new can of worms with regards to questions as to how, who, when, and why.
Yeah, I'm checking out your website now, and you got photos of like the image of the Eye of Horus on the wall, as well as the map that you just mentioned of Egypt, France, Spain, and Greece. And it does look like those things. And it's really bizarre that this all ended up in a cave in France.
Yeah, what's it doing there? How did it get there?
Right.
Why was it put there? And it's the links that it goes on to show that there's some other stuff which just defies belief, because it gets really, really deep and really, really interesting. There's a couple of sections in. There's 3 actually. Excuse me. There are 3 sections that I saw something, and I couldn't quite believe that what it was what I was seeing. So just out of pure experimentation, I mirrored these 3 sections.
Okay.
Yep. So I've got one half is the original from the cave art, and then of course I mirror it, and then I get the 2 halves come together and they form a bigger picture. One of them was of a lion's head. There's a set of drawings inside the lion's face that shouldn't be there, amongst a few other bits and pieces. And when it's mirrored, it looks like 2 lions rampant. Rampant is a heraldic term for the position of a creature on either side of a shield.
Okay.
And they stand either side of this now mirrored image, which is, or appears to be, a cup or a chalice. And I thought, well, this is very, very interesting, because this was very much along the lines of heraldry and family trees.
Okay.
Yeah, and I also found a very, very similar image created much later of ancient Rome, and it's from Austria. There's a stone carving of these two lions rampant guarding a cup, and out of the cup is growing the tree of life.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it
Which
was
is,
then...
That's real quick side notes.
Yep.
I remember in some of my research I've done over the years, the tree of life has been mentioned within the Mayan culture, which ties into you researching this starting in 2012.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Plus, it also ties in with the Sumerian culture.
Oh, yeah, definitely, for sure.
Yeah. So there's a couple of images elsewhere in the cave that I believe are offshoots of the influence for the Sumerian culture and their tree of life. And this image is part of it. The art appears to be multi-layered with multiple meanings in certain sections.
Okay.
And this is one of them. So I got talking to somebody. Her name was Catherine Ashanolu. She was a scientific researcher or something like that for the president of her country. Anyway, she's since left us, unfortunately. But it was her that picked out something else about this mirrored image that I hadn't seen, and she saw it.
What was that?
And it appears to show the birth of the first Egyptian god.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So you've got these two images sat there right in front of your face, and all you've got to do is adjust your view depending on what it is you're exactly looking at. Bit difficult to describe, but if you could see it, you'd understand. So there was another image that came up of a similar mirrored thing, and it appears to show a humanoid face.
Okay.
And I thought to myself, well, this can't be right. This can't be. Why is it that I'm able to do this? What evidence do I have that's embedded in the art that can prove to me that this mirror technique that they are using is real?
And that is pretty cool that you came up with that idea to section it off and mirror it together, and you're creating all these separate images that are hidden within.
Yeah, because this all stems from that hippo. I'll get back to that hippo in a minute.
Okay.
After I've gone through this, because this is all parts of how I confirmed what it was that I was seeing. So I carried on looking through the rest of the art, and I saw this horse's head. And it didn't look complete. There are no ears. And I'm thinking to myself, why didn't they draw an ear on this horse's head when they have done so on other horses? They've done it on the rhinos and various other creatures. Mm-hmm. So I was looking at this image in a bit more detail, and I noticed something that was about 3/4 of the way down its neck. And it is a horse's ear. It appears to be the exact sort of shape that you would get, like a leaf, yeah, okay, for a horse's ear. So that's where they've moved it. And down below that, there's two stags. And the way that they meet, one of them is on top of the other, but there's a space between the belly and the back of each of them. Now, that space forms a very rough and basic image of a bird on a perch. So I thought to myself, what is wrong with this section? Curiosity again, I mirrored it. Mm-hmm. And the moment I mirrored it, I just goosebumps all over. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up, all my arms, everywhere. Oh, it was incredible. What I found was where this horse's ear is 3/4 of the way down the neck, once it's mirrored, it forms the front view of a horse, its head. So you get the two ears, one either side of this head. And then above it, where the other horse's head without the ears are, you get the left profile and the right profile. But what really blew my mind was as you looked down, where this perched bird was, it's now a swallow in flight.
Oh, wow, yeah.
So I had found the evidence that convinced me that what I had found with this mirroring technique was real. It can't be anything else.
Yeah, and that's some pretty in-depth detail going on. I mean, to hide their story in that many layers and with that kind of a technique.
Yes, it is mind-boggling. Simple cavemen did not create this art.
No, there's too much thinking involved to be able to be cavemen.
Yeah, it's... Well, I ploughed over this for about, what was it, December, January. I was ploughing over this almost 2 months, pulling this art apart. And this hippo in particular was one of the other clinchers. I thought to myself, this hippo is not sitting the right way up in the comparison to all the ancient Egyptian images that I'd seen. So I took that particular section where this hippo is, and I rotated it 90 degrees horizontally, exactly 90 degrees.
So it would be standing up at that point?
Yes.
Okay.
And it looked much more presentable. And I noticed that right in front of it, there was like a curved line. There were two curved lines, but they taper from the top and get wider as it goes down.
Okay.
It's representing some form of solid object stood in front of this hippo, because it appears to be holding onto it with its left arm, even though it's or leg. But the left leg from about the elbow disappears. So I thought to myself, this is interesting, and I went looking again for ancient hippo, Egypt, etc., and I came up with this image from the tomb ceiling of Seti I. There is a hippo stood in front of a curved plinth in almost exactly the same style of design. How is that possible? But it got worse than that. I noticed that in the Seti I image, there is a flat platform just in front of the hippo and its plinth. Above that platform, there is a four-legged creature. In this case, it's a bull or a cow.
Right.
And I compared that to the Chauvet cave art image, and I noticed there was this really long, thick, dark line, not quite horizontal, more prominent than the Egyptian version, but above that and upside down, there is a four-legged creature. Now, it looks like an elephant, but it's not. I think it's something else totally separate. I think it's involved with Thoth and the Birdman.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what that creature is involved with. The reason I think that is there appears to be a human arm reaching out and over from where this elephant's trunk is. But it's also, its feet has claws.
Huh.
Elephants don't have claws.
Right.
They've got these dirty, great, thick tree trunks of feet. So why is this something that resembles an elephant? Why has it got claws? And then, of course, when you compare its design to examples like, there's a similar example on Easter Island. There's like this Birdman type figure carved in the rock there, and it resembles that. And, of course, when you look at Thoth himself from ancient Egypt, he's got this long beak coming off his head, you know. So there are these similarities with that. But then it got even deeper, because I noticed that there was several dots around the place in the cave art that appear to be the heads of bison or buffalo, whichever. And they've got these like really long curved horns around these tufty bits of fur on their heads.
I think you're correct with the bison.
Yeah. So I looked one of them in particular is on the shoulder of the hippo, and I compared that again to the Egyptian version, and there is a star on the hippo's shoulder in the Egypt version from Seti's tomb.
Okay.
Yep. And then you notice that there are more stars in the Seti version, and they match the stars that appear in the cave version as well.
Oh yeah, there's like dots all over that SETI image, and you say they match up to where the bison are?
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Below the flat
those
platform,
dots, there's got to be a reason for the dots in the SETI tomb.
Oh yeah, and we'll get there.
Okay.
We'll get there. Below the SETI tomb version one, you'll see two characters, Egyptian people, whatever they are. They stood there down below. In the cave art version, they are stars. They both represent the same thing. This is all constellations. They are all star constellations.
Yes.
All of it. This cow, this hippo, the crocodile that's on the hippo's back. These are all related to star locations.
Okay.
So why is it that we can compare something from 35,000 years ago buried in a cave to something that's what, 2,000-3,000 years old?
Yeah, and it's pretty close. I mean, they look very similar considering the vast time difference. It's crazy how close they are.
It's mind-blowing. But it gets worse.
Let's hear it.
Yeah. Cool. This Eye of Ra, the coast of North Africa, and some of the details that are in that imagery, it goes on further.
Okay.
Because I thought to myself, why can I see stuff here from ancient Egypt and the Sumerian cultures and others, and why am I able to see what I believe to be a map? So I thought to myself, well, what if I try and follow this map? If I am able to pinpoint certain locations using Google Earth of the time, what have I discovered? Possibly the oldest map ever.
Yeah, very
to
true.
date. So I took a good look at this lion that formed North African coast, and I realised, because the reason being was because of the there's a set of legs from other creatures near the middle of this lion's back, and they appear to form the Nile region. This was one of the main sections of that image.
Oh, yeah. It looks like there's like a deer maybe in there.
Yeah, there's a mix of them somewhere, somehow, and they splatter them in. Well, they appear to splatter them in, but they don't. They haven't. This is all deliberate. I looked at the lion itself, and I looked at its mouth, and I thought, well, if that section over there with the deer legs is the Nile, what is it that's over here where the mouth is? Up came Google Earth, I zoomed in, and I find this massive valley. And right at the end of the valley, there's that big circular thing, or what do they call it? Oh, I forgot what it's called. Oh, blimey. Oh, the Rishat structure. Richat structure. It's the Rishat structure. It's an amazing... It's a mass. It's a big circular mass. And nobody really knows whether it's been created naturally or...
Oh, is that around where, like, they say Atlantis used to be? Is that the same
possible,
location?
yeah. It's possible that's one of those locations, yeah. But this structure is huge. It's amazing sight from Google Earth anyway. I've not been there, and of course I've seen other pictures of it. But this was one of those extra little bits of bonuses from this art that confirmed what I was seeing. And I noticed on the lion that its eye was above its eyebrow.
Yeah, his eye is pretty high up on his face.
Yeah. You don't put an eyebrow that low. So I'm looking on Google Earth again, and it turns out that this eye is a lake, and the eyebrow is a mountain range.
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah, it was quite interesting.
Now, did you look to see, was there a lake on Google Earth that kind of matched up around that region?
Yes, there is.
What lake did you find?
I can't remember its name at the moment.
Okay.
It's quite a big one.
Right. And I'm assuming the mountain range is right there too.
Yeah, it is.
So yeah, you've come across this map, because this is definitely a map of the.
Yeah.
Well, does it expand out? Because that's just within like the lion image. If you expand out the other cave paintings, does it extend beyond what we're seeing with Egypt, the Rishat structure area? Does it go beyond that? Do you know?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Yeah, it goes a bit further, quite a bit further actually. This was an amazing roller coaster ride. It was. My mind was just doing overtime, cartwheels. The amount of goosebumps that I was suffering from is unbearable almost.
Oh,
it was
I can only
great fun.
imagine. Like I'm dealing with that right now. No. This is extremely interesting and powerful information. This gives us a whole different idea on what our ancient ancestors really were like. I don't think they're the cavemen that people thought they were.
No, they're not. No way. This art was deliberately buried. It was deliberately created and deliberately buried in order to preserve a story and a message.
Definitely, and that's what happened. I mean, it survived many disasters that the Earth has encountered.
Yeah. You know, we try to preserve our history best we can, and we're still sickened by the loss of the library at Alexandria.
Right, and that was one of the most devastating things in our current history. I mean, we lost so many things that would have told us what our ancestors were like, what the Earth was like, what the culture was like at the time.
Yeah, as you know, we'll never know. It's all gone. So we can only go with what we've got now.
And you, my friend, are definitely helping out in that regard by
thank you, and I hope
trying to figure out what these relics represent. And as far as I'm concerned, right now, you are definitely on the right path.
Thank you. Yeah. Right. So, going back to your question, where else did it spread out to?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I took a look at the next section, because the art appears to be painted in sections, and it's almost as though it flows not just as a story, but a visual image as well.
Right. Yeah.
And I noticed that there was some red dots in the cave art that I couldn't really tell which direction they seemed to be going, but they just pointed. So I thought, well, if I follow that direction, maybe I'll be able to match something up.
Okay.
The first one was off of the strongest set of dots. I think there's about 5 or 6 of these dots, and then down below there's just 2 dots that point sort of southeast. Anyway, I went with the ones that go more to the east, and I saw this set of long-horned rhino stacked one on top of the other, but slightly forwards of each other, so that you got to see that there were multiples of them stood there.
Right, yeah, because you could see one of them, you just see the back end of it, but it's there for a reason, to show you that it's there.
Yeah, and then of course you get the idea of the rest of them being there because they're staggered behind it.
Right.
Which is also something that is very typical of ancient Egyptian art as well, because they used exactly the same method. It's all over Egypt. Exactly the same method of staggering more than one item in order to represent multitudes.
Exactly. And
so
numbers are a big thing with these cultures.
Oh yeah. Yeah. there was, in a mix of these long-horned rhino, I noticed something that resembles almost a mushroom cloud, or just a mushroom, but the top mushroom bit also looks a little bit like a prehistoric elephant. Mm-hmm. Its tusks turn down rather than curl up.
Okay.
And its tusks are quite short. And it reminded me very much of one of those types of elephants, prehistoric. I wondered what it was that I might be able to find if this was a particular location on Earth. And I went looking. Ooh, dearie me, where was it? It's next to a place called Namak Lake, and it is just south of... come on, brain. Where are we? We are just south of... I'm getting there. I can find it.
And like near Iran, it seems like?
It's, yeah, close to there. Yep. Tehran.
Okay.
Yep, this is just south of Tehran, and there's a place called Namak Lake. And I saw this very, very similar image of these sort of... it looks like a jellyfish.
Okay.
Very much like a jellyfish. Very similar to this cave art one. But then I found out that there's more to this particular image on the surface of Earth. It's quite large. You can see it quite clearly from 77 kilometers up.
Okay, is this something you noticed on Google Earth too?
Yep.
Okay.
I found this by following the cave art.
Okay.
Not only does it resemble the shape of this bit from the back of these longhorned rhinos, but it also resembles the Eye of Ra, the one from the cave art.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. The odd thing with the one from the cave art is that just in front of the actual eye, as almost where the nose would be, there's this big black blob. Its actual design is very, very similar to the way a hawk's eye would be drawn.
Okay.
But here on this Earth image, you see a very, very similar blob in almost exactly the same location. And there's other bits and sections of the Earth there which seems to have been modified to resemble like the other bits of the Eye of Ra.
Now, with that in mind, it starts to make you think, how did these ancient cave people look above the Earth's surface to look down to know that that's what that area looks like? You know what I mean?
Yep.
Which we'll probably get to that in a little bit as well.
Yeah, we will.
Mm-hmm.
There's even more interesting thing about this particular section on Earth is that we find a major geoglyph. And it appears to be something that resembles a sea lion or a plesiosaur. Some form of creature like that. It is hard to define exactly what it is, but it looks like it's something of one of those. Mm-hmm. But it's blowing or sucking something in or out of its mouth. It's an amazing image. This one you can see clearly from about 30 kilometers up.
Okay.
And it's intermingled with this one from the Earth. And then anyway, I went back to the cave art because I thought to myself, this can't be, surely not. Maybe there's something else, possibly. And I followed those two little dots that went southeast.
Okay.
And in the cave art, what I see is a rhino with its little ears curled over, and it's you're looking at it from its left side, so its head is on our left, pointing that way.
Okay, yeah.
And I thought, well, there's a bit of detail here. Maybe if I try and find something like that on Google Earth as well, maybe that will confirm more of what I'm seeing. I don't know if you can. Have you found that image on my site? Have I got it on there?
The one of the rhino?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'm looking at it right now.
All right. Okay. I went searching again, back to Google Earth, and I found down near Baghdad. Well, actually, it is Baghdad. The Eye of the Rhino is Baghdad itself. Is the actual city.
Oh wow.
Yeah. You'll notice that some of the terrain is slightly different, but it is almost an exact match. The terrain appears to represent the curled ears of the rhino. It has the short horn with an island in it. And you see this same island drawn into the cave art rhino. But I noticed also just above the rhino's head in the cave art, there's a dark grey sort of squiggly line.
Is that that big lake?
Pardon?
Is that big lake that you see above Baghdad? Or
no, it's the river.
Or the river, I mean, sorry, not lake, yeah.
Yeah, it's that big river that heads north. It's that one there.
That's exactly what it is, or at least that's what it looks like.
Yep. That area has not changed its basic design in more than 30,000 years.
Wow.
Why is Baghdad such an important location? Why have they marked it in such a way on the cave art as part of the map?
Yeah, that's an interesting thought. And it makes you wonder, too, is there a connection to why are we always at war with the Middle East?
Yep. Oh, yes. Because this throws out quite a lot of questions, like I said earlier. Who, how, why, where, and when? On what for? And that's just the basic easy ones.
And think about it. The ancients 30,000 years ago are seeing the same gods, so to speak, or they're seeing the same map, the same constellations as the Egypts not too far in our history. And then you go to today, whatever the ancients were dealing with, we still are dealing with it. We'd have to. We just don't know about it.
That's right. There's something going on that's just mind-boggling at the moment. I had to confirm even more. I had to try and find more about what was going on in this cave art. And, of course, my brain was a bit burnt out. It hurt.
Yeah, I'm sure you need to decompress a little bit.
Yeah. I was working on this a good 12 to 14 hours every day for about 3 months, putting all this together.
Yeah, it's definitely
digging
a lot
it
of time.
and pulling it apart. Yeah. Oh, wow. There was. I went back to the Nile because in the cave art on that lion, there was something else there that was bugging me. I had seen some bits and pieces, and I wanted to try and understand what they were that I was seeing. What it was these 3 little dots. They were next to the Nile bit. Now, I thought primarily that they may have been the pyramids.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was thinking maybe these legs, these deer's legs that represent the Nile region, are actually ancient African rivers, and these 3 dots are the pyramids. Can you imagine what that would mean if I was right about that?
Well, let's hear it.
Well, I'd prove that the pyramids were more than 30,000 years old.
Exactly. Yeah, because people think that was just strictly built during what we consider the Egypt period. And what you're saying, which makes sense when you go along with this map here, the pyramids are way older than what we think they are.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. And it's possible there's some sort of influence behind the reason why they were built. But what that real reason is, I can't pinpoint yet. I can't answer that. But I might
tie in with how these structures are built in alignment with the the stars, the zodiac system.
You're on it. You're on it there. You're on it. And I'll show you how.
Okay.
All right. That map of North Africa, where I thought this particular region was the Nile region. Remember me saying that these images are multi-layered with multiple meanings? Well,
Yep.
This one is no different. This particular line is no different. It is actually two sections of that North Africa region. But the second section is the section that involves the Nile Delta there.
Okay, yeah.
It's not, when you look at it as a separate section and disregarding the rest of the line, it's not the Nile. It is actually a set of ancient dried up African riverbeds. I had been doing some research on it, and I accidentally came across all of this. The amount of coincidences and stumble-upons that I did with all of this was just, I couldn't believe it. It was just one domino effect after the other, one domino hitting another one, on and on and on. I found this website called PLOS1, PLOS1, and on it was this paper that somebody had written about ancient dried up North African riverbeds. And guess what they happened to match? The cave art.
Yeah, exactly like that. Wow.
Yeah, it's mind-blowing. And I could see where these three dots are in location to the terrain on the surface of Earth now, because I had a real up-to-date image of these ancient riverbeds, and I have one that was drawn 35,000 years ago, and you can almost overlay them and say
And
that
they
they
all
are identical.
Wow.
And there's these three little dots down on the lower mid left of one of these riverbeds. So I went hunting, dug up Google Earth, friendly Google Earth, and started searching around and zooming in and trying to find what it was. What I came across blew me away. There are
What did you
three
find?
craters in exactly the same orientation as these three dots in the cave.
Oh, wow. Actual craters in the ground.
Yep, craters in the ground, three of them. Now, there is one particular material rather, that we know that the ancient Egyptians had and were able to obtain. Glass. And they got it from the Sahara Desert,
Okay.
which is where these craters are.
Right.
Something struck the earth 3 times in that particular orientation. Now, they are sort of, the Egyptian pyramids, I think they're slightly aligned sort of west to east roughly, whereas
is the spacing the spacing of the pyramids compared to the spacing of the craters, are they very similar?
Almost. The pyramids are more tight. They're tighter together.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're almost more of being in a line, whereas these three dots are a bit more spread out. Yeah, you can draw
which
nice...
makes sense because the pyramids were built as compared to the craters, something hit the earth.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Some astronomical event happened, and these 3 meteors hit the earth, created these craters, and maybe that was the influence as to why the Egyptians built these pyramids. Because you had the 3 belts, the 3 stars of Orion's belt, which is what a lot of people relate the pyramids to.
Right.
Yeah. And then if the Egyptians saw these 3 asteroids, or the ancients, not necessarily the Egyptians, but the ancients, if they saw these meteorites coming in, they would have seen 3 streaks of light coming down through the sky at the same time.
Exactly.
So you've got those 3 stars of Orion, and then all of a sudden the gods answer with a shout of 3 stars shooting to Earth. I'd be convinced. So with that, the relationships there were bonded. It's almost like they all fell into place. All these ancient riverbeds, the three craters and everything else. Oh yeah, that was the other point about these three craters. There is something significant that people talk about, and it's 19.5 degrees. Every sphere, if you put some pyramids inside them, one way up and the other one upside down, where each corner of the pyramids touches that sphere is at 19.5 degrees.
Oh, wow. And that's what the circumference of these craters are?
Well, it's not their circumference. That's where they are.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. If you sort of draw a line between the three of them and you create a triangle and then half that triangle from the top point to the flat base, where that point meets there in the center, that's 19.5 degrees.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's on the nose. It's right there, 19.5. How bizarre is that?
Yeah, that cannot be a coincidence. I mean, considering how large these craters are, I mean, and how large the pyramids are.
Yep.
They did have some sort of knowledge from outer space somehow.
Well, it's possible that this cave art also points to somewhere else.
Okay.
Mars. It looks as though there's some certain images on Mars that are very, very close in design to what we're seeing here on Earth with regards to the lions and the Eye of Ra.
Okay.
I'd been putting some of my images out there and, trying to get some feedback on it. And whilst I was searching for and confirming all my finds on Google Earth, I found something else on the surface of Earth. It's sort of northeast of Namak Lake and that Eye of Ra, with the seal creature there. And it's a lion rampant. It's a feline, and it's rampant. You've got one paw up and one paw down, and its tail is in the air. And you can clearly see it from 150 kilometers up.
Wow. Yeah.
That is a massive geoglyph. It's huge. And then somebody threw me an image of another lion that had been found on the surface of a planet, and it's on Mars. But this lion is a male lion, and it's looking back over its shoulder as if it's looking towards Earth. Yeah,
definitely looks like that.
Yeah. Wow. And guess that region where that lion is, if sounds like you're looking at the picture itself. If you look on about the middle of its back, there's a little grey sort of square.
Okay.
Yeah, well, that is the famous face at Cydonia.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, the famous face in Cydonia is right in the centre of this male lion's back that is looking over its shoulder towards Earth.
That is crazy.
And it's looking down at this female lion here on the surface of Earth.
Yeah, I wonder if you could somehow draw a line from the glare of the lion on Mars to the female lion on our Earth. I wonder if there would be a line directly there.
Wouldn't that be an amazing little stunt?
Yeah.
That would be absolutely mind-blowing. And you have read my mind. I have considered that, and I just do not have the brains or the capability or the know-how as to how to even work that out.
Oh, I know. If somehow we were in contact with somebody with that kind of technology, that would be amazing.
It would. Yeah.
There's direct communication right there between Mars and Earth.
Yep.
Done by some ancient astronauts.
Yep. Without a doubt. You couldn't deny it.
Right. So at the time, too, there were inhabitants on Mars at the same time as Earth, you would think. Possibly. Or it could have been done at different times.
I think they may have actually been travelling backwards and forwards.
Okay.
and they may not necessarily have originated from Mars or Earth.
Right. It could be just travelers out there.
Yeah.
And who knows? Maybe this is just maybe a big prank they played on us.
Well, why would you do something like this? Why would you go to all this sort of effort as a prank?
Right. No, I'm just.
Yeah, it just doesn't even compute, because it's almost the same as me trying to show the entire world what it is that I think I've seen. So many people would laugh.
Right.
Because I even sit here myself and I think to myself, are they going to find out that one day that this cave art is faked? It's all new. It's all recently done by some trickster to make some fame and fortune.
And yeah, that's what the skeptics out there, which almost everybody seems to be one.
Yeah,
that's what they think. Which
I have to.
But right now,
pinch myself.
Right now, you are making valid points to show the authenticity of those cave drawings.
Yeah, I'm doing the best I can.
Right, and you're doing a pretty damn good work, man. Because I didn't even think about. I was never gonna think about the connection between Mars and Earth like I do right now. You have unlocked something already.
It gets worse or better, depending on your point of view. I've sort of got myself around to various other groups through my research and brain picking and question asking, etc. And there was this one particular group where an image had been posted and no details were given about it at all. And this was so frustrating. For weeks, I tried to contact the person who had posted it. Okay. Now, this image appears to show the Eye of Ra. And it's on the surface of Mars. And it's approximately 300 miles from Cydonia. And it's the same design and style as the one from Chauvet and almost every other single one from ancient Egypt and various other places.
Where was this posted at?
Oh, blimey. I'll have to get you a link for that later.
Okay. Because I pulled up an image of Eye of Horus on Mars, which Eye of Ra, Eye of Horus, some people call it the same thing, I guess.
Yes, it could be the same thing.
It's on it looks like some random elevated rock on Mars.
Yeah.
Very bizarre.
But there's more detail to it as well, which was quite striking. Because at the bottom of it, where the lower eyelid would be, there's two little slopes that protrude forwards from it. But it looks like, in close-up, it looks like an entrance.
Okay.
Yeah? What is it? We may not know for a very, very, very long time, but it strongly resembles the Eye of Ra, and it appears to have some form of entrance on the lower eyelid.
Yeah, very weird. Whoever posted this picture that I'm looking at, if it's the same one, they speculate that it's a sarcophagus with the Eye of Horus on Mars.
It could be. Mm-hmm. You know? It's anybody's guess at the moment.
But if it was a sarcophagus of a Egyptian-like god, that's right there. They inhabited Mars too, I guess.
Yeah, if we found something up there, then of course they would. Yeah, that was it. You know, no denying it.
And same kind of culture too, which is bizarre in and of itself. You have a culture on another planet, very close to us, that is very similar to culture here on Earth.
Yeah. And we seem to have followed the same sort of path. Mm-hmm. those sorts of paths that are still noticeable today is the heraldry thing, with the lions rampant guarding a chalice.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Now, most people of a particular religion, they sort of make the chalice being the Holy Grail, which contains the blood of Christ. Now,
Right.
when you're talking about the body and the blood of Christ and all that, you're talking about a bloodline, a family tree.
Mm-hmm.
We know about the tree of life that's being represented in all of this art everywhere. And with the form of a chalice today in modern heraldry that we've used for a good 1,000 years or more, you have a shield shape, which is almost the same shape as a cup or a chalice.
Usually, yes.
Yep. And within that, we segment it up and we put in the coats of arms of each little family member that has come together in order to form that family tree represented as a heraldic emblem, an image.
Yep.
We still do that today. So what if this message of this chalice in the cave art isn't that the Holy Grail is a solid object that can be used and drank from to grant eternal life, but it is the knowledge that your DNA, when it is passed on, that guarantees your eternal life. You form the tree of life, you form the family tree, you grow more roots, you grow more branches. And that's what they were trying to tell us all along in the cave art and onwards. But certain people have turned it and changed it into being a more religious thing.
Right. Yeah, it could just be the expansion of the bloodline, like you said, the family, the original family on Earth.
Yeah.
I think that's a valid statement. I agree, and I definitely do not agree with the statement of the Holy Grail being a physical item.
Yeah. I've never see it being that. I can't. It's just,
Yeah, that doesn't make sense. That just goes along with just stories of treasure hunting, in which this goes way beyond that. This is way deeper than that.
Oh, yeah. Do you remember me talking about this humanoid face that I mirrored?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember you talking. That was, I think, one of the first things you mentioned in regards to mirroring these pieces of cave art.
Correct. That struck quite a chord, quite a few people.
Mm-hmm.
I'd posted it online, threw it out there. What do people think? As you do. And somebody came back with a comment and an image. And this image that they discovered, or somebody else had discovered and they knew of it, is also a mirror image, but it was found hidden in one of the paintings by Leonardo da Vinci.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So Leonardo da Vinci painted a mirrored image, or they found a mirrored image within that painting?
They found something that was almost... They found half of it, the same as what I did.
Okay.
I found half in the cave art, and they found half in Da Vinci painting. And they thought they saw this humanoid face wearing a helmet. And all the skin looks sort of leathery and tough. And this creature, it looks like a warrior almost. But then so does the one from the Chauvet cave art. And I put them
what you
side
just
by
described, you described the Chauvet cave art mirrored face.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what the Da Vinci one looks like, or close to it?
Yeah, they're almost identical.
Wait, I just looked it up. It says someone is put a question, is God's face in the Da Vinci Code piece of art? And that face with the helmet, the way the helmet comes down to the brow, is very, very similar to the Chauvet cave art.
Yeah. There's actually more than 12 matching points.
Which is weird, because there's some researchers out there that speculate that the Da Vinci Code was also hiding the Holy Grail in his imagery.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it gets better. it gets better with this. This story was like another offshoot from what I thought the cave art was telling me.
Okay.
And from what I believed I was reading. And of course, it's just another one of those notches on the bench that showed me or told me that I was right. There was no, almost no doubt as to everything I was seeing, how it all fell together and into place with all these little bits of evidence that kept popping up. I was looking at the Da Vinci stuff, and then I got into reading about him and what he got into. And oddly enough, one of the few things that he wrote down was that he had found a cave and he wondered what was within.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then nobody heard from him for 2 years. He disappeared for 2 years.
So he probably went back to that cave to...
What cave?
Yeah, exactly. What cave are we talking about?
We're talking about one that's in Italy near his home. This is where he was when he wrote these words and then disappeared.
Oh, wow.
He found a cave and wondered what was inside, and then nobody saw him for 2 years. And lo and behold, what do we get? We get a mirrored image from one of his pieces of art that matches something that's 30 to 35,000 years old from another cave.
Yeah, very bizarre.
Several hundred miles away.
Do people know exactly what cave he's talking about?
No. No one's ever found it. No one's ever even tried.
Is it possible he made his way over to France?
No.
Okay.
He'd never found it. The Chauvet cave was deliberately sealed about 20,000 years ago by a landslide.
Yeah, so it'd be impossible for him to locate that.
Yeah.
Very,
absolutely no
very
chance.
Bizarre. And very, very similar pictures. And he came up with the concept of putting these mirrored images together, and you've decided to do the same. And somehow it's unlocking a lot of stuff. A lot of information for sure.
Yep. Especially when I started looking at more of Da Vinci's art. There is a piece called The Annunciation. And what you see is an angel down on one knee. It has its right hand up and its left hand down, hanging over its knee, squatted in front of a woman who's got her hand on a book, and this book is perched on a pedestal.
Okay.
And I thought to myself, that so much resembles the rampant lions from the cave art, the rampant lions from the Roman relief, guarding this chalice. So I thought I'd mirror it.
Mm-hmm.
And I find this angel rampant either side of a chalice on a plinth with the tree of life growing at the top of it.
Okay, I'm looking at that right now, and that's... Yeah. I think you've uncovered something.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing?
It totally is, and this is why Da Vinci did what he did too.
Yeah,
and
he could not tell anyone. They'd have burnt him alive.
Right.
He had to hide it in his art.
That is the only way that he could pass on this knowledge to future generations like us.
Which is exactly what the ancients did when they created this cave art in Chauvet.
Yes.
Not only did they create some form of message that became the ancient Egyptian and Sumerian and other cultures, but they're talking about things and places and locations that are on the surface of Earth and very, very possibly even on the surface of Mars.
Yeah, and there's got to be a major significance. I mean, for them to want to maintain the knowledge of that time and have it survive throughout history, knowing they probably knew about disasters of the earth because they were astrologists. They knew what was going on according to the stars and everything. because that matches up with the cave paintings as well. So they probably knew what kind of disasters were going to happen in the future.
Yeah, they obviously had a long and established base for learning.
Mm-hmm.
In order to be able to understand art at this level, to be able to blend in, embed, hide, mirror, rotate at different degrees, angles of the imagery, and fit it all together into a cave with such skill.
And think about this. I mean, they obviously put it in a cave because the cave would be able to survive.
Yep, anything. It's a time capsule.
And the only reason people think that they were cave people and they're real primitive is because they found these in a cave.
That's right.
These people could have been living with high technology outside the cave. Who knows what kind of world they lived in at that time?
Yeah.
They might have had technology to go to Mars and back.
Yeah, it's very, very possible. We still do similar things today with the seed banks. Where are they? In Alaska or something, is it?
Oh, yes, very, very much so. To keep the Earth going after a major disaster.
Yeah. We store all these seeds and they're constantly being refreshed so that we're never short of them. It's a survival technique. But these people left a message. It's the same with us sending Voyager out into space with that gold disc on the side of it.
Right.
That's a hello. Whether somebody is able to interpret exactly what is on there is another thing. But what they will be able to determine is that there is somebody else out there who had learnt how to send this thing through space.
Right. This is very interesting stuff. Let's continue on. Real quick, though, I'm going to go grab me a glass of water from the fridge. I'll be right back in 1 second, okay? I'm going to pause this.
No problem.
Okay, I'm back.
Cool.
Sorry about that.
That's all right, no
I
worries.
need to quench my thirst because this is a really good conversation we have going on.
Good. I'm glad you like it.
I've always been intrigued by certain aspects of this, but you're taking me into directions I haven't thought about yet. Like, I've always been interested in the concept of the Holy Grail that went beyond the physical chalice, but this is bringing that whole concept to a whole new level.
Yeah, it does, just a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, again, if I'm right, it tells us what it is. It is a bloodline. It is DNA. It is something that they knew about. Not just DNA. Well, they learnt about it. How did they learn about it? They must have known about it.
How did they know that a bloodline? Do you think it was a specific bloodline was really significant at the time, like a holy bloodline?
Yeah, I think it is this birth of the first Egyptian god, this humanoid face.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, because these cave paintings depict that first birth.
Yeah. And this is almost the biblical nativity.
Right.
The birth of Christ. The following of a star, the three wise men, Orion's belt, those three stars are also known as the three kings.
Yes, exactly. Very true.
Yeah. So we've got these three craters. We've got all of this movement from Africa out into Iraq, Baghdad, and Tehran, out into the Middle East, and all this activity at Baghdad, etc. Why has it gone that way? And then all of a sudden we're getting the same sort of imagery from the cave depicting the birth of the first god that also takes the form of a grail, a chalice. It's a combination of stories that seems to be doing the same thing. The three wise men followed the star to witness the birth of Christ. This is exactly what's going on in the cave art. That's exactly what they're describing. But it wasn't Christ. It's this humanoid being that we see from this mirrored image from the cave art.
Right. And it's weird because just the date of this god went well beyond 30,000 years.
Yeah.
So this changes everyone's idea too of how old the Earth really is, because a lot of people think the Earth really isn't that old.
Yeah, they think it's about 6,000 or so, don't they?
Yeah.
And
which there's way too much proof to believe that.
Yeah, there is. There's so much physical evidence. It just pushes the boundaries of how long. We're talking millions of years. I mean, even the dinosaurs themselves. Yeah. They were here a long time ago. Yeah. But saying that, it's possible that we were as well, because of those fossilized footprints, the human fossilized footprints that they found embedded under the fossilized footprints of a dinosaur.
Right. No, that's very true.
So, that they found that, and I think they found more than one example. So what was it that was walking around that had a human foot at the time of the dinosaurs? That's another question that has been sprung upon us.
Yeah, I think the world itself is completely different than what we know it as. Like, even the history that we know is completely different than what reality is. Yeah. And that's one thing we need to get back into a mindset as a whole when it comes to humankind. We need to get back into finding what reality is.
Yeah, reality is what we observe, taste, touch, and feel, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Reality. Yeah, what is real? Especially when you've got so many people who are now bringing up all this different data and information that relates to stuff from the stars, people from elsewhere, UFOs, ancient aliens.
Oh yeah, and just even just underground cultures, like underground spiritual groups that don't really touch the mainstream area because the mainstream wants to deny them, which includes the study of the stars, astrology, and whatnot. Yeah. Science tries to ignore those things, but how come our ancients were so heavily involved with them? And
it was the better way to go.
Yeah, I mean, I think it helped them predict major happenings so they can keep the records alive, like these cave records. I mean, certain things that science currently tries to deny are very useful tools.
Yeah. It's possible that these people weren't wiped out. They left before the event happened.
Or what if they didn't? Well, yeah, they had to have left because of the big catastrophe or whatever happened. And they had to have come back to continue the bloodline, unless they started a new bloodline.
Had to reseed the earth.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's exactly what it is, reseeding the earth.
Yeah. It's common sense. And these cave arts, the way they represent stars, especially this Tomb Ceti ceiling version one, the one with the hippo,
mm-hmm.
how that sets up the stars and the constellations, that was something else that gripped me quite a lot. Why would they put stars in there?
Well, let's go into that a little bit. Let's go into
this is where I'm going.
Yeah. We're heading in a great direction. I like this topic.
I had wondered previously whether any of the other sets of cave art from Lascaux or anywhere else in the world may possibly have anything that resembled what I had found in Chauvet. I could not find much. There was a few bits and pieces which I found, which I thought, yeah, okay, that kind of resembles it. That kind of fits in here. That kind of fits in there. But there wasn't anything really definite that I could pinpoint until somebody else had made a video. They'd made some discoveries. I think you got the link there. I think you've also seen it, haven't you? The knowledge of the forever time.
Yes. Which, if any of the viewers have yet to see the knowledge of the forever time, which I think you can see all the episodes of the series except the final one. I think you have to have a subscription to another source aside from YouTube to watch the last one. But they're mostly there, and highly recommend it. And it definitely touches on what's being talked to today.
Without a doubt. Episode 2, mind-blowing. Absolutely, wow, stunning. Especially linked to what I've got. I could not believe it. It not only is it a good, refreshing look at a lot of the other ancient cave art, it strengthens and confirms everything that I've got. And together, side by side, the two of them are an incredible find, and they must be taken seriously. Somebody's got to take these two seriously. The evidence there is so strong. What this Knowledge of the Forever Time episode 2 video is showing is other sections from cave art from around the world. These animals that you see in there also contain sets of dots or markings.
Yes, I do. Now I do remember that episode specifically, and I was wondering, why does this cave painting of the Chauvet look so familiar? And now you're getting into it.
Yep. These animals with these dots are star constellations, whether it's Taurus, Scorpio, or Aquarius, any of them, whatever it is, and others that are even sort of aligned with the ancient Egyptian style version of their constellations, because they had slightly different ones.
Right.
But they're all there. They're all in this cave art, and they spread across the last 10 to 35 odd thousand years. How is that possible? Why are these other people being able to find and confirm these star constellations in the cave art and match it to the sky?
Yeah.
I thought mine was good, but when this guy did this and put this out, well, it's just confirmed a lot.
Well, his knowledge seems very comparable to yours, my friend. I mean, what you're conveying with your information is pretty much on par.
Yeah, it's very tight, I think, in the way it's all set there and the way it's all come together. It's quite tightly bound.
Yeah, and I mean, you talked to me a little bit before we came on the show, and you said you just recently uncovered this series too, didn't you?
Yeah. A friend of mine posted it to me a couple of weeks ago. Well, last week, I think it was.
Wow.
And I've only had a chance to watch this episode 2. I haven't been able to watch the others yet, and I will be.
So this has to be blowing you away. I mean, because this is going exactly the way you're going. I mean,
yeah, it's confirmation for me.
Yeah, the same details about the star constellations being represented with the dots within the animals.
Yep. The cave art was not just random cavemen, simple cavemen drawing random animals of what they saw in their day-to-day life. Yes, there are some of those that are exactly that. But the vast, well, I don't know about the vast majority, but there seems to be a majority of them that does represent star constellations. Because there's even one of them there where they're talking about the handprints, where the cavemen have made handprints all over the walls. Mm-hmm. There's several of them from various locations in other caves where some of these hands have got dots around them, red dots around the outside of the handprints. But it's only through the use of the Hubble telescope. This is what they describe in this episode too. There's only because of the use of the Hubble telescope they were able to see a nebula, and they called it the Hand of God because this nebula resembles a hand reaching out to grab a cloud of red stars in front of it. And the hand is blue. Yes. This nebula is blue, looks like a hand, and is reaching for these red stars that are just in front.
So is the hand on these walls painted blue as well?
No.
Oh, okay.
But there's red dots around it. And it's almost like they're almost exactly the same sort of position, same angles.
Right. So they're obviously trying to give us a message about a nebula. Like, I don't know. This is
that we can only see today because we've got Hubble.
We're living in an exciting period of time right now to be able to uncover these old ancient mysteries that people do not understand. That it's available right now. We just need to look.
Yeah. Just keep looking and keep digging and keep trying to reveal it all.
Yeah. We're peeling off layers every time we do this kind of information or kind of episode of our radio show.
Yeah. It's like, what's the guy? Doing all the rockets. Is it Elon Musk?
Oh, yeah. Elon Musk. He's
yeah. You've got people like him and like the Tesla company, and you've got sort of semi-earlier ones which have done a little bit of a boost. Other people, but there are so many new innovations coming out now. There's people that have built flying jetpacks that you can fly around in.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, and even these giant drones that you can sit in and fly about. People are now getting to the point where they are educating themselves, they are learning this stuff, and they're building this out of their own pockets.
Which needs to be done because
nobody else is going to.
Yeah, and academia is going to be against this because they want to keep hiding the truth.
That's right, because it upsets their society, it upsets their structure, it upsets their money, it upsets their corporations.
Yeah, it denies all their research they've already done. And they don't want to disown what they already paid for. Yeah.
And a lot of these people, myself included, we are the offspring of the 60s and the hippies movement. We are the offspring of the punk movement, where the rebellion was there. We had the love and the harmony with the hippies.
That's where I came into the punk movement. That's what I grew up from.
Yeah, I grew up with the punks.
It's the free thinking. That's what drew me to that whole scene was the free thinking. I could be myself and think for myself.
Yep. And the anger was there because, with the punk movement, the anger was there because the system had crushed the hippie movement.
Yeah, exactly.
And the anger was an outlet. It was just that release. And of course, today you've got hip hop and rap. There's that message which is still in there. And other groups, Pink Floyd, for example.
Oh yeah, you got the system is a broken system, not working for us.
Yeah, that's right. One of my favourite songs by them is "Sheep."
Oh yeah, and that's a very, very valid statement because the majority of people are sheep. They just wake up, do what they're told, and that's it.
Yep.
And that's what academia is doing. It's keeping us down, and everyone believes what is being sold to them in the public school systems and the university systems. They will not uncover this kind of knowledge unless they start thinking for themselves.
Someone said to me about a month ago, actually, they said to me, why is it that all the information that I have got, why hasn't it gone mainstream? And I thought to myself, that's a very, very good question. I've been pushing this since 2012. Well, 2013, by the time everybody got to know.
Right. It's slowly trickling down to the mainstream, slowly picking up.
Slowly, yeah. And I don't mind. I am not in a rush. I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, because society will be ready when it's ready.
Yeah. I'm not out to be some sort of, oh, amazing, look what you found. That wasn't what I was trying to do. Or I never deliberately set out to try and find something. This just fell in my lap. Serendipity took a great big part in this.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm in no rush. What will be, will be. If it goes mainstream, then great. If it
Right.
doesn't,
And I
no
mean,
problem. It's there online for later.
yeah, you have the research documented online. It's there for when society is ready to choose to read it.
Yeah.
But until then, you're gonna keep doing what you're doing, furthering your own research, because I mean, you already provided a lot of information, but as you know, there's still a lot out there.
Oh yes. Even from the cave art itself, just Chauvet.
Yeah.
There's stuff in there which I haven't even talked about. I haven't even set upon. There's loads of little bits of detail and imagery in there that, well, I could go on for about 3 or 4 hours with all of it. So yeah, I've generally gone over some of the major pieces and how it all links in.
We got about 20 more minutes if you want to discuss a little bit more into the Chauvet.
Right, okay. Where can I go with that one? Yes. I don't think it's on my site, so I don't think you'll be able to have the image for it unless I try and find one online. The rhino, that is the Baghdad location.
Okay.
The image on its back, there appears to be two silhouettes walking through a tunnel going towards what looks like a doorway. Through the doorway, there appears to be something out there rather unusual. Actually, I don't, if I got that one there, if I send you that, can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Right, I'll do it on Facebook. Facebook.
Facebook's good. Send them there.
I'll send it to you there because it's from another show I did. Right, there it is.
All right. Okay.
Yeah,
right.
right.
It on the screen right now.
So you've got the rhino there with its eye being Baghdad and its ears being etc. and the river, and then on its back you've got these two silhouettes that are crudely drawn, but I think they're suggestive. So the idea is that the suggestion of two silhouettes being there, they're in a dark tunnel going towards this doorway. Now, just outside, if you were looking through the door and just in front there, you can see something that curves down from the upper right corner of the doorway, and then it goes into a straight line and then tapers off directly down, but then tapers back in. And there's two little square boxes down below on that sort of bit that's protruding from the side of this thing.
Oh, yeah.
You see those?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then it appears to curve back in as like a belly back to the door frame.
Right.
Yeah. That struck me as being really weird.
Yeah.
There's a couple of other markings there as well. There's a little blob right in the center, just below the curve at the top, and then just above the two little square boxes, there's another rectangular design there. But when you mirror this, it looks like an airplane.
Wow. Huh.
Those little square boxes, they're the flaps.
Yeah.
Yep. When you mirror that, you get an airplane or some form of flying craft that appears to have some form of control.
It's like, do you think the doorway is a doorway off the planet?
Yeah, they're talking about leaving. They're exiting out of this darkness, this dark tunnel. They're getting out of this tunnel. They're going through a door and they're getting into something and they're off.
Yeah, right here might be the warning right here.
Yeah, that's what they're saying. And I think that this image is deliberately placed on the back of this rhino because that's where they left from.
Mm-hmm. They left.
The evidence as to where they left from is still there.
That's got me thinking too. Some random thoughts also that ties in with the knowledge of the Forever Time, which I don't know if have you seen the episode regarding the Stargates yet?
No.
Well, I don't want to give it all away, but in a couple episodes you'll run into some Stargate information, and I think if my memory serves me well, I think it was located in Baghdad.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh no. Oh wow. Oh my.
Yeah, so I mean, I did a little bit of research about that after I watched that episode, and there's some people out there, I don't know if this is even close to being true, but there's some people out there that think we went to war to control that Stargate that's in Iraq and Baghdad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would make sense.
Mm-hmm.
That's a strong location, isn't it? That's a strong point. That's a real...
It is, and right here with your cave information even proves it gets even deeper. It's a very, very strong point there.
Wow. I've got to watch that episode then.
Yeah, definitely do not stop with the series. Keep it going because it gets pretty intense.
And there might be more there, like you say now. You've revealed this.
Yeah, should.
That's going to confirm even more.
Yeah, try to follow along with the series along with your current work with the Chauvet, and let's try to see if you can tie that stuff together. I'm sure you can tie many things together.
Yeah. I've just sent you that image. The mirrored image of that craft.
Okay, let me check that real quick. Sorry, it's taking a little while. For some reason, my Facebook is
slowing down.
Yeah. Okay, there we go. Now it's on my screen. Yeah. You found the key, my friend. The key is the mirrored images.
That's one of them, yeah.
It's definitely one of them, because without that mirror, you wouldn't be able to see this. Looks exactly like a top view of an airplane.
Yep. Even with the tail.
Yeah.
It's got a tail.
It's got the tail, it's got the wings, it's got the front end. It's there.
Yep. It took off. They left.
Yeah. They left. Something devastating happened, which was the whole reasoning for this artwork anyways. And then they came back, and that's why we're here.
Yep.
They
came back to resettle.
Yeah, and that does not sound far-fetched at all. I mean, I don't see how that would be unbelievable. I mean, it's mind-blowing at first, but if you put the pieces of the puzzle together, it fits well.
Gives you a satisfying sort of sit back and relax sort of, yeah, there you go. Chew on that for a while.
Yeah, it definitely gives you something to percolate there for a bit in your mind.
Yeah, so
I think that's probably an excellent spot to end the evening then. I mean, we went over quite a bit, and there's a lot more. How would you feel about if, because I'm assuming you're probably continuing this sort of research, right?
Yeah.
How would you feel to come back on the show sometime in the near future and give us some updates about what you have going on?
Well, the updates are slow. I'll tell you
right,
that.
Yeah. Or, I mean, even if you want to cover some of your research that you have yet to cover with these cave drawings, because I'm sure it can even expand even further.
Yeah, especially once I've done watched the rest of the Forever Time.
Yeah, if you want to, let's plan on that.
Yeah.
Continue the series with the Forever Time, see what kind of ties you can add there, and come back on the show for round 2 of the Chauvet cave art.
Yeah, we can do. I mean, meanwhile, also I do UFO hunting as well, so I might find something else there, because I'm trying to get more involved in that now recently.
Oh, yeah, we didn't even dig into your UFO research.
Nah, but
we could probably
there's that as well.
We could probably do a whole episode on that if you'd like sometime.
Yeah. And the paranormal.
Yeah, it just keeps going and going. I mean, there's a vast amount of knowledge at our fingertips.
Yeah, this is one of the funny things with the way my life has gone. Like I said, I started off with very young with sort of alien-esque and paranormal experiences. And I think because of these, it opened my mind to lots of different things. And then, of course, once I started work, the job markets just literally were pants. They fell out the bottom. Mm-hmm. So I had no choice but to change my skill set in order to keep myself going. And I've done all these different jobs. I've been all these different places, and it's led me halfway around the world several times. And now I'm sitting here, self-published author, after discovering something in the cave art. And I think without all of these UFO and paranormal experiences, I may never have come across it all.
No, it sounds like fate.
Yeah. They talk about destiny and your life's planned and stuff. Mm-hmm. Well, I think some of us, a lot of us, if not all of us, are being guided. It just depends on how we choose to listen.
That's true. And I mean, it's weird. Like, certain things happen that lead you in a certain direction that is also leading us to almost the beginning of time.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's coming full circle. But yeah. If you want to, let's plan. How about sometime in a few weeks, maybe next month sometime, if you want to come back, we could dig into your UFO or paranormal research.
Yeah, we can combine the two and stretch it out.
Yeah, we could definitely do so.
Yeah, that's fine. That's not a problem. That'd be great. Thank you very much indeed for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Hey, no problem, Steve. I'm glad you could join me, and I definitely look forward to speaking with you again. And I'm going to dig into more of your research myself, because I've definitely enjoyed what I've been listening to, and you have me intrigued right now.
Thank you very much, Rodney.
I'll post the link to your website on my Facebook page too, so our viewers can have a visual look on what's going on, what we were talking about.
Brilliant.
Cool. Well, thanks again. Take care and sleep well, because it's probably pretty late over there now.
Yeah, 1:10 in the morning.
Yeah. All right. Well, enjoy your late night.
Cheers, Rodney. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Take care, Steve.
See you later.
Yep. Bye. That was Steve Meads from the UK. We were discussing his research into the Chauvet cave paintings. He's uncovered a lot of information that has been unknown to the public for a little while now. He's also a UFO researcher and paranormal expert. We'll discuss more of that with him next time. I'm your host, Rodney McGillvary, and this is Ancient Mysteries Revisited on the WELT 95.7 FM, streaming live at www.acpl.info/welt. Check us out on Facebook at www.facebook.com/Ancient Mysteries Revisited, as well as checking out us on YouTube. Just search up Ancient Mysteries Revisited. Until next time, we are the Deprogramming Program.